Coming up on Mountain News this morning, millions of Americans are under the threat of severe weather across the nation, and state lawmakers passed a bill meant to give teens a new way to communicate about issues and concerns involving mental health at school.
Dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky, this is WYMT Mountain News this morning.
Well, good morning again, 6 o'clock on your Friday. We made it to Friday. I'm Dakota Makris. Thanks for joining us. Let's head over to Brandon for a look at that forecast this morning. Brandon, rain is on the way out, but I do
for now.
I do have a question for you, though.
Yes.
So this wind that we're expecting, could that lead to maybe some power outages? Maybe I know.
Yes.
I know that's hard to really
right,
predict,
but when you get 60, 70 mile an hour winds, I think you're going to have some power outages. I don't want to say they're going to be widespread, but I think there'll be some because it'll bring down trees. And when we had a little bit of rain this morning, it's going to loosen the ground up a little bit, so it might make it a little bit easier for those trees to fall. So yeah, I would charge your devices as best you can today, and maybe get some generators ready if you have them, because definitely a possibility for some power outages later. But this morning, not too much in the way of severe weather. We had some rain go through, but I'm kind of giving you a wider shot here on the satellite and radar so you can kind of see what's coming. There's a line of showers and storms back down toward Memphis. This is a front that is actually moving into place here across our region. It's moving north right now, but on the backside of this system, it's going to be a cold front. Once that front gets to us, it's going to bring some powerful storms into the mix there as we head into the afternoon hours. But the heavier bands of rain starting to move north and out of our region. You already see parts of McCreary and Whitley and Knox and Bell counties already drying up this morning, even parts of Wayne County there just a little bit. So this trend is going to continue to push the rain north. Heavier bands still up around the Mountain Parkway and the I-64 corridor, northern Big Sandy, Paintsville, Louisa, over toward north of Prestonsburg. They're getting in on some heavy rain this morning, so just be careful if you have to be out and about. A lot of schools out today. You can see the full list of closings and delays on the bottom of your screen. A lot of counties out today. NTI days just closed because of the possibility of severe weather this afternoon. 50s, almost 60 degrees down south there. 57 our hot spot in Harlan. 43, it looks like our cold spot in Moorhead and Ashland this morning. So again, temperatures are going to warm today up into the low 70s. A little bit later on this afternoon, your day planner brings those chances for some storms into play as we head deeper in the afternoon. Sunshine today is not our friend, and those storms could pack a punch. More on those here in just a little bit. Dakota?
Brandon, we appreciate it. Millions of Americans are under the threat of severe winter weather. Tornadoes, along with strong winds and large hail, caused destruction in parts of Louisiana and Texas and left tens of thousands without power overnight. Meanwhile, the dig out continues in the mountains of California, where desperate snow-in people are pleading for help. Jared Hill reports.
Severe storms in Texas produced large hail and tornadoes.
Crossing the street right in front of us.
70 to 80 mile-per-hour winds brought down power lines, leaving thousands of Texans in the dark overnight. Strong winds also brought a tree down onto this house in Hearst. The owners were still inside.
They were running. The only thing I hear in the top of the house is going like boom, boom, boom everywhere. I didn't know where to run.
The roof of this Dallas County Amazon warehouse partially collapsed on workers. No injuries were reported. Authorities are now looking at just how bad the damage is.
Once we get some daylight tomorrow, we'll be able to get some more accurate information.
A gas station in Shreveport, Louisiana, now mangled metal after a twister ripped through.
It just came up. 20 seconds later, it was gone. And I mean, total chaos. Wind, glass breaking out everywhere.
The severe storms slamming the South are from the same weather system that buried mountain communities in California under feet of snow. Miriam Magana could barely contain her excitement. Her brother-in-law rescued her and her family after they were stuck at a Crestline Airbnb for more than a week.
We're so ecstatic. We're so happy. Family back home is really worried and nervous. And these are the kiddos.
But many others are still trapped at home. San Bernardino Sheriff's deputies loaded up food to take to desperate snowed-in residents. The governor has declared a state of emergency for several counties. Jared Hill, CBS News.
The National Weather Service is advising against mountain travel in California, with more snow expected this weekend into next week. In other parts of the country, heavy rains could produce flash floods in the Ohio Valley, while the upper Midwest to the Northeast could get more heavy snow and ice heading into the weekend. State emergency management officials are preparing for the worst today. Officials say there's one group of people they are particularly concerned about. Several hundred families are still living in travel trailers after the flooding here in eastern Kentucky and tornadoes in the western part of the state.
Just like in the Christmas Arctic storm, we're not leaving those folks behind either. They're sheltering in our program. We take their safety very serious, and we're making sure they get all the advanced warnings and alerts, as well as where do you shelter and where can you go if the impending weather is coming in.
Crews have been going door to door to make sure those in travel trailers have the needed radios or other ways to get alerts. And remember, you can stay weather aware with the First Alert weather app. To download, scan this QR code with the camera on your phone or search for it in the Apple App Store or Google Play. You can get the latest weather alerts and radar. We also encourage you to download the WYMT News app. There you can find the latest breaking news and school closings. Several school systems have already closed today in anticipation of the bad weather, and you can see them scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Thursday was a long and emotional day for LGBTQ+ advocates who spent the day in Frankfort protesting what they call anti-trans legislation. Opponents say House Bill 470 takes rights away from parents and goes against doctors' recommendations. Meanwhile, the bill's sponsor, Republican Jennifer Decker, says the bill protects Kentucky children and their long-term mental health. Chad Hedrick explains what's next as the bill moves forward.
Intense moments at the Kentucky Capitol Thursday as LGBT advocates protested legislation they say targets and harms transgender youth.
I'm not sure when the last time it was that I walked down a hallway and there were literally just dozens of people hugging each other and weeping.
Strong emotions as House Bill 470 passed in committee and just hours later approved by the full House. Opponents say the bill would ban health care providers from doing anything to help trans children transition. Supporters and the bill's sponsor say it looks out for the long-term mental health of children, citing a study from Sweden.
It showed damage to children's mental health. They lived lives of sadness long-term after these procedures.
The bill passed along party lines, except for 3 Republicans who voted with Democrats against the legislation.
I'm really upset for families right now. I'm upset because I feel like we denigrated the medical profession. I feel like we have, we're making people feel less than, and I don't like that.
Now as the bill moves to the Senate, advocates are hoping it stops there. In December, Senator Karen Berg's transgender son killed himself.
I think that we'll find out how much the Senate respects a grieving mother whose transgender son died by suicide earlier this year in Senator Karen Berg.
In Frankfort, Chad Hedrick, WKYT.
Well, should the bill pass in the Senate, it would head to Governor Andy Beshear's desk. Yesterday, he called the legislation inhumane, adding the legislature should be focused on other issues. State lawmakers passed a bill that would give teenagers a new way to communicate troubling issues or mental health concerns in schools. It's called the Safe KY Act. It sets up a pilot project through the University of Louisville to establish an app that they could then text directly to professionals concerns that they may have for crisis intervention. It also establishes the Kentucky Health Safety Center.
To create, implement, and maintain an app for middle and high schoolers, college students to access mental health professionals to help divert crisis and provide some guidance.
The app could also be used as a tool for students to text concerns of school violence or to report incidents they see. It passed unanimously out of the House Health Committee. Kentucky legislatures are looking at potential changes to education in Kentucky. Our Chandler Wilcox tells us how Senate Joint Resolution 98 could make higher education more accessible for students.
More than 2 decades have gone by since the Kentucky General Assembly passed legislation regarding higher education reform.
The educational dynamics, the business dynamics have changed a lot in 25 years.
Stivers introduced Senate Joint Resolution 98, calling for the Council on Post-Secondary Education to study changes that could best prepare students. That includes educational structures like the relationship between technical and community KCTCS campuses.
What should the curriculum be? Do you just need the technical skills training? Or should you take more of what we call the traditional English 101 and mathematics? Or should you just have technical courses given to you?
Another possibility is building a public university in southeast Kentucky that could give students in the region more affordable access to education.
Maybe, maybe not. How would it impact our privates like UPike, Cumberland, Union? You know, we want a full range of thoughts and patterns, costs.
The resolution has been introduced to the Senate Committee on Education, which Stivers is a part of. The Senate president said his colleagues are in favor of a study.
It's my opinion, and I think a lot of my colleagues are, let's have an evaluation up and down the line of post-secondary education. What the conclusions will be, we'll get recommendations from them, and then we'll decide whether we want to accept those recommendations or not.
Stivers says getting students better prepared for the workforce is their main concern. In Hazard, Chandler Wilcox, WYMT Mountain News.
KCTCS Acting President Larry Ferguson sent WYMT a statement saying, quote, "We support this comprehensive review," end quote.
6:11 here on this Friday morning. We are tracking rain right now, tracking storms later, and we'll get a break in between, but that's not going to be good, especially if we see some sunshine, because that's going to help destabilize the atmosphere even further. But this morning, just plain Jane rain, heavy at times, so be careful out there. It's moving to the north, UVA-wise, starting to clear out just a little bit, at least from the rain. The clouds still around, though, 50 out there this morning. 48 Clintwood, 46 Jackson, 53 London, Manchester, and Monticello, 57 in Harlan's the warm spot this morning, and 43 in Moorhead and Ashland are the cool spots. Winds, not too much in the gusts just yet, but we're seeing them moving in from the southwest right now, bringing that warm air in. 16-mile-an-hour gust at Wise at the Lonesome Pine Airport, 23-mile-an-hour gust at Logan. 72 this afternoon. Storms are going to crank later on today, so make sure you have a way to get those alerts quickly if they are issued. Dakota?
All right, Brendan, thank you. And thank you for joining us this morning. When we come back, disgraced South Carolina attorney Alec Murdaugh prepares to be sentenced after being found guilty of murdering his wife and son.